Hello students, welcome to our English period and we were discussing about the figures of speech. We finished 3 figures of speech in the last session. They were simile, metaphor and personification. So let us move ahead. So we will begin with transferred epithet today. Okay, so what is transferred epithet? First of all, you should know what is the meaning of these words. We know what is the meaning of the word transferred. Okay, that is moving from one place to another place. And what does epithet mean? Epithet means an adjective. Okay, so you should have understood by now that what it means by transferred epithet. It means that it is the transfer of an adjective, and we know that adjectives are used for the nouns, isn't it? Like the beautiful girl, the handsome boy, or the brave man, like that. Okay, so here let us see. This is a figure of speech where an epithet or an adjective is transferred from a living being to a non-living one. Okay, so an adjective is transferred from a living being to a non-living person or a non-living thing, sorry, not a person. For example, let us take a look at the first sentence. I passed a sleepless night. Okay, so what is an adjective here? It is sleepless, and ideally for which noun it should be used? It should have been used for I, for the pronoun I. Usually who is sleepless? A human being or a living being is sleepless, isn't it? Birds, animals, they all are living beings. Even the trees are living beings, isn't it? So all the living beings sleep. But here, where is it used? It is used for the noun night. Night. Okay, so night is a non-living thing. How can it be sleepless? Isn't it? So this adjective sleepless has been transferred from here to here. From one noun, which is a pronoun over here, from a pronoun to another noun. Okay, and hence it is an example of transferred epithet. Now let us take a look at another example. He lay all night on his sleepless pillow. Okay, so what is the adjective here? It is sleepless. So ideally speaking, who is sleepless? It is he, the pronoun he. Okay, so he is sleepless, but the adjective sleepless has got transferred from here to another noun, which is pillow. How can a pillow be sleepless? A pillow is a non-living thing. So how can it be sleepless? So who is sleepless? It is he. Okay, and this sleepless adjective has got transferred from here to this another noun. Okay. Now the third one. The plowman homeward plods his weary way. Okay, weary means, you should understand, it means tired, exhausted. So is the way exhausted? Is the way tired? No. Then why is it written? Then who is actually tired here? Who is weary here? It is the plowman, isn't it? The weary plowman homeward plods his way. It should have been this way. But the adjective, that is the epithet, has been transferred from here to here. Okay, this is a living being and way is another noun. This is a non-living being. Okay, non-living thing. So from a living being to a non-living thing, the epithet, that is the adjective, has got transferred. Hence it is an example of transferred epithet. Okay, I hope you have understood this figure of speech. Fine. Now let's move ahead. Now the next figure of speech is apostrophe. Okay, in this we address a non-living thing or an abstract thing. So let us first read out the definition. By this figure of speech, by this figure, the speaker addresses some inanimate things. Inanimate things means non-living things or some abstract ideas. I told you in the previous session what abstract nouns or abstract ideas are. You should understand by the word abstract, which means things which cannot be seen or touched, but they can be felt, like sadness, happiness, isn't it? Joyance. All these are abstract nouns or abstract ideas. So this figure of speech addresses some inanimate, that is non-living things, or some abstract ideas as if it were a living person. Okay, hence it is called apostrophe. So such non-living things or abstract ideas are considered to be living things, and this is how, thinking that they are living beings, we address them, we talk to them. Okay, so here is one example. O death, where is thy sting? So death is an abstract thing, isn't it? And we are talking to death. See, O death, is death a living thing? Is it going to reply? Is it going to talk with us? No. But yet here it is shown that the author or the person or the poet, okay, is talking to death. This is how it looks like. O death, where is thy sting? Direct talk with the abstract noun. So this is an example of apostrophe. In the second, O world, O life, O time. Okay. So can we actually see? I know you must be thinking that yes, we can see the world, isn't it? But then it is a different thing over. You should be able to understand what actually the person wants to say in this. Okay, we know what life is, but can we really touch and see them? We really cannot. It doesn't have a perfect figure, isn't it? Like you and I have, like the trees have, like the birds have, isn't it? Can it have, or does it have a perfect figure? No. This, no. And also time, it doesn't, isn't it? And yet the poet is addressing them. O world, O life, O time. Hence this is an example of apostrophe. Fine. Now the next one, inversion or anastrophe. Fine. So what is inversion? In this figure of speech, the words are not used in proper sequence. Okay. So let us see first. This is a figure of speech that refers to an inversion or change of usual words, order of words. Okay, it is a change of usual order of words for emphasis or special effect. So to give a special stress, to show a special effect, the usual order of words is changed. Okay, so such a sentence or such a line becomes an example of inversion, which is also called as anastrophe. For example, the first sentence, many a foreign dawn has he seen. Okay, in this particular example, we would have normally spoken this way. He has seen many a foreign dawn. Okay, we would have spoken this way, because we know that if we are talking about a sentence, we have been taught that in a sentence it is the subject which is written first, then the verb, and then the object, isn't it? So where is the subject in this particular sentence? It is here. Okay, so this order has changed completely, and hence it has become an example of inversion. Now take a look at the second one. Much have I travelled in the realm of gold. Okay, you and I would have said it this way. I have travelled much in the realm of gold, isn't it? So what has the poet done? He has changed the sequence of the words, isn't it? So that he is able to draw the reader's attention. To seek the reader's attention, the poet has written it this way, and hence it becomes an example of inversion. Okay, so again let me remind you that it is the change of usual order of words, and that is nothing but the inversion. Come I may, but go I must. This is my favorite line to make children understand what inversion is. It is very, very obvious, it comes out very easily that this is not the regular way to speak. And hence we understand at once that this is an example of inversion. So how would you and I have said it? We would have said it this way. I may come, but I may also go. Isn't it? So what is written here? Come I may, but go I must. Will you say like this? No, in normal style, we will never speak this way. Isn't it? So here I is the subject which has come after the verb. Isn't it? This is the excuse me. This is the model. This is the model verb. We understand what a model verb is. It is a helping verb, right? So here again we understand that the sequence of the verbs has changed and hence it has become an example of inversion. Silver and gold have I none. You and I would have said this way. I have none. Neither silver nor gold. Isn't it? So this is the way to speak it in a regular manner. But the poet or the author, especially the poets, okay, they go ahead and write it this way so that it catches the reader's attention. So this is inversion. All these were the examples of inversion. What is inversion also called as? Anastrophe. Okay, so for today we studied two figures of speech, transferred epithet and apostrophe, and three we studied, and inversion, which is also called as anastrophe. So in the next session, children, we will continue with the figures of speech chapter. Okay, listen to the recording, listen to the video carefully, and complete your notebooks with these examples. See you in the next session. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.